gun control activists have spent the better part of this year fighting the Second Amendment. Their goal is to prevent more Americans from owning guns. But a new report has come out that has shown David Hogg's hard work was all for nothing. Despite all the hard work by David Hogg and gun control activists, a new report shows it was all for nothing. Photo credit, David Hogg, Twitter, Fibonacci Blue, Flickr, M. I say that about a lot of people, but it might be especially true about people fighting the Second Amendment. Why would anyone in their right minds fight for less rights? Why would they fight to have less protection and control over their own lives? Keep in mind, gun control activists, like petulant brat David Hogg, aren't going to inner cities to take guns from criminals. They aren't pushing to make it harder for violent and dangerous people from getting guns. They are trying to enact sweeping changes that will make it harder for you to get a firearm. The goal of gun control activists is to not only eliminate the Second Amendment but to turn Americans against the idea of gun ownership. The media does a good job of this. Movies and TV shows make it seem like only criminals own guns. Everyday Americans are uncomfortable or inexperienced around guns. How many times have you seen a show where the main character awkwardly holds a gun, then they drop it? Of course, the gun lacks any of the safety features of a real gun and it goes off like a pop balloon. Ridiculous and unrealistic, right? But that's what many Americans see when they think of guns. On top of that, political activists march, rally, and perform ridiculous stunts to attack our Second Amendment rights. They want to turn public opinion against gun owners, so that cowardly politicians would push for gun control laws to strip a fundamental right from us. But looks like David Hogg and the rest of the March for Our Lives crowd is doing a pretty bad job of it. Sure, they are making a lot of noise, but they don't seem to be resonating with many Americans. In fact, the last 3 months have seen a surge of interest in gun ownership. How do we know? The FBI told us. May 2018 became the third consecutive month of record background checks and the biggest May in history, as far as background checks are concerned. FBI numbers show 2,002,992 background checks were conducted in May 2018. The previous May record was 1,942,677 background checks conducted during that month in 2017. This follows an April in which 2,223,213 background checks conducted, setting the record for the highest number of checks in any April in history. And that followed a March which set the record for the highest number of background checks conducted during any March in history. Source Breitbart. In addition to that, NRA's membership has surged to 6 million. Donations to gun rights groups are breaking records. What does that tell you? Americans are reacting the opposite way that gun control activists had hoped. The more people like Hogg fight to strip our rights, the more Americans rally behind the Second Amendment. It's really quite beautiful. Despite the decades of anti-gun propaganda from Hollywood, Americans still understand the need for the Second Amendment. We still carry on the same spirit of independence of our founding fathers. The last time we saw surging interest in firearms was under President Barack Obama. When he pushed harder to regulate and restrict firearms, Americans pushed back. There were 19 consecutive months of record background checks under Barack Obama. Those began in May 2015 and lasted through November 2016. They were driven by a non-stop assault on the Second Amendment, characterized by attempts to secure all-out bans on certain types of weapons and high-capacity magazines, as well as efforts to implement universal background checks and other controls. Source: Breitbart. You will never be able to kill gun ownership in America. It's just not in our DNA. We are a country of rebels and independent spirits. Sure, you might have brainwashed, soy latte-drinking minions in the Democratic Party, who happily give up their rights. But people who make this country run are not of the same breed. They are pro-free people. And they don't give up their rights because a wimpy teenager with a blank face tells them to. However, considering how David Hogg has been the best thing to the NRA since Charlton Heston, maybe he should keep speaking. Facebook has greatly reduced the distribution of our stories in our readers' news feeds and is instead promoting mainstream media sources. When you share on social media, however, you greatly help distribute our content. Please take a moment and consider sharing this article with your friends and family. Thank you.